Hello dear students, this is your English teacher Qaisar Bashir. Dear students, in today's video, I am going to talk about a famous poem, Personal Helicon for Micheal Longley, written by a renowned Irish poet, Seamus Heaney. Let's get started. Seamus Heaney was born on 13th of April 1939 and he died on 30th of August 2013. He was an Irish poet, playwright and translator. He received the 1995 Nobel Prize in Literature for his best-known work, Death of a Naturalist, that was published in 1966. Heaney was and is still recognized as one of the principal contributors to poetry in Ireland during his lifetime. American poet Robert Lowell described him as the most important Irish poet since Yeats. Robert Pinsky has stated that with his poetic gift of eye and ear, Heaney has the gift of the storyteller. And upon his death in 2013, The Independent described him as probably the best known poet in the world. Dear students, let me now give you the introduction about the poem. The poem Personal Helicon was first published in 1966 in the book Death of a Naturalist, and it is dedicated to the poet's friend Micheal Longley, who was also a poet. Dear students, let me now talk about the significance of the title Personal Helicon. Seamus Heaney's title choice for his poem Personal Helicon is rooted in ancient Greek mythology. Helicon is the name of a mountain in Greece. In Greek mythology, two springs sacred to the Muses were located at Mount Helicon. The Muses are goddesses of inspiration and the source of knowledge. Mount Helicon is also where the fable of Narcissus takes place, where Narcissus falls so in love with himself and becomes so despondent when he realizes that he cannot have the object of his own desire. He takes his own life at the side of his spring. Narcissus and the other elements ascribed to Mount Helicon are heavily used in his poem to help the reader grasp the meanings behind the quatrains. While reading, it's important to remember the fables of Mount Helicon, that the springs on the mountain were the source of inspiration itself. Thus, the title of the poem must be specifically drawing parallels between the mountain springs and his source of inspiration while a child. Unlike the unchanging mountain, Heaney's inspiration undergoes a paradigm shift as he grows older. One of the voices in this poem goes over the progression of this change and tells the story about his inspiration. Dear students, let me now give you the meaning of difficult words and phrases that the poet has used in the poem. Number 1. Dank. Dear students, dank means wet and cold. Number 2. Plummet. It means to fall very quickly and suddenly. Number 3. Savor. It means to enjoy an experience slowly in order to appreciate it as much as possible. Number 4. Mulch. It means a covering of decaying leaves that is spread over the soil in order to keep water in it or to improve it. Number 5. They could not keep me from wells. Dear students, this phrase gives us an idea that the poet as a child was strongly attracted and fascinated by wells. Therefore, no one could stop him from going to them. Dear students, Seamus Heaney's Personal Helicon uses odd images of various wells, surrounded by dank moss, ferns and slime, in order to express a paradoxical vision of poetic inspiration. Heaney does not go to the mountain top in this poem, as poets have ever since the ancient Greeks. Instead, He recounts his childhood fascination with old pumps and wells that are the last places most people would expect a poet to go to find inspiration. Yet his images of old growth and darkness echoing are actually portals to self-discovery. Heaney makes the difficulties of self-knowledge so manifold as to often defy understanding, vivid, evocative, even scarcesome. One never knows just what poetic reflection will rise up from the deep, dark wells of the self. The speaker is drawn to these forgotten wells from the early days of his childhood. His images are rich with tactile metaphors and similes. Old pumps with buckets and windlasses are of particular interest for their dark drop and the trapped sky they hold within. As he savored the rich crash when the bucket plummeted down the wells he explores, he might be called a connoisseur of abundant wells of long ago. In other words, he is, from his childhood, a seeker of lost selves. This puller out of old roots that have sunk deep into the past can, it seems, with his shouting into darkened wells that are ignored by all adult dignity, actually call forth a clean new music that becomes, in the drawing, poetry. Dear students, if you want to learn more about the poem, detailed explanation of the poem is given in the description. Let's now talk about the use of Greek mythology in the poem. Dear students, as we go through the poem, we encounter three words: Helicon, Narcissus, and Echo. And these three words give us an idea that the poet has referred to Greek myth. Now, what does Helicon, Narcissus, and Echo mean? Let's first of all take the word Helicon. Helicon is actually the name of a mountain in Greece. In Greek mythology, it's believed to be the source of poetic inspiration and the home of the muses. Number 2, Narcissus. Dear students, Narcissus in Greek mythology was a handsome youth who fell hopelessly in love with his own beautiful face as he saw it reflected in a pool. As he gazed in fascination, unable to remove himself from his image, he gradually pined away. Number 3, Echo. Dear students, Echo in Greek mythology was a maiden who loved Narcissus. Dear students, let me now talk about the significance of well as a symbol in the poem. Dear students, the symbol of the well has been accurately developed in the poem. The well is a common object in nature, but the poet has used it to signify the depth of knowledge and the secrets of nature, which the poet is meant to open through stages of growth till he attains maturity in his art. The well is also the poet's source of inspiration from childhood, as well as the symbol of quest and curiosity. Dear students, you might be thinking, what is the significance of personal helicon in the poem? Yes, dear students, personal helicon signifies the poet's own inspiration from the mysteries and experiences of life. Poetic devices. Dear students, there are various poetic devices that the poet has used in the poem. Number 1, allusion. Allusion in literature is an implied or indirect reference to a person, event, or thing, or to a part of another text. The examples of allusion in the poem are: Number 1, Helicon. Number 2, Narcissus. Number 3, Echo. Number 2, alliteration. Alliteration is the occurrence of same consonant letter or sound at the beginning of adjacent or closely connected words. The example of alliteration in the poem are: Number 1, dark drop. Number 2, dry stone ditch. Number 3, ferns and tall foxgloves. Number 3, imagery. Dear students, imagery is the use of visually descriptive or figurative language, especially in a literary work. The examples of imagery used in the poem are well, pumps, buckets, windlasses, ferns, sky, white face, waterweed, fungus, rates, foxgloves, moss, mulch, crash, echoes, music, smells, etc. Tone of the poem. Dear students, the tone in the poem is nostalgic, positive and serious. Assessment. Personal Helicon is written by. The poem is written on a tone of. What is the significance of the title Personal Helicon? Explain the meaning of the phrase, they could not keep me from wells. Who was Narcissus? What is the significance of the symbol well?